Hi, I'm Jenson Button. I've qualified on pole for the San Marino Grand Prix here in Italy. And I hope you're going to be watching the Grand Prix today on ITV. And we'll see if I can get on the top step of that podium.
I get my kicks from the thrill of the chase. When I'm done, I'll put you back in your face. I'll be the memory that you just can't erase. You'll be needing me as you're breathing me. Catch me if you can, 'cause I can't stop running, won't stop. You can't beat me now, yeah. No, I won't stop when you keep running. Catch me if you can.
Good final run through the chicane then, and he does indeed go first with a brilliant 1:19.7. His final sector was incredible.
There's a lot of pressure now on Michael Schumacher's shoulders to try and go out and beat that. And is this going to be the first ever pole position in Formula One for Jenson Button? Schumacher very nearly threw it off there. Has he thrown away pole by doing so? The final chicane up over the curbs. Is Button on pole? And Jenson Button has got his first pole position in Formula One.
Race day, a very cool, relaxed arrival. Catch me if you can. Jenson Button chases its first Grand Prix victory in the heart of Ferrari territory as well. Imola in northern Italy is the stage as F1 2004 touches down in Europe. And how good does that look? Jenson Button quicker than Michael Schumacher. I must warn you though, the world champions won this race a record 5 times. 1:19.7, that is a new lap record. Button, the first British driver on pole since David Coulthard in Monaco, and that was nearly 3 years ago. Hello there, welcome to the paddock at Imola. Now, we had a 5-hour torrential thunderstorm last night that have changed the characteristics of this circuit, as you can see. At the moment, we have a lovely spring day. Tony is with me now. Tony, we've had Jenson on the podium. We've had him on pole this season. Will this be the day when we see his first win?
Well, it could be. The team are getting stronger and stronger. They're translating that speed and reliability from testing into the racing as well. And there's another great precedent here. You know, Nigel Mansell won here twice. Damon Hill won here twice. David Coulthard has won here. But it is going to be tough for Jenson. He's got to keep his cool. He's got to keep his composure, because Michael Schumacher and Ferrari are going to be all over the BAR Honda.
His boss, David Richards, just gone past me. He said relaxation is the key today. We are totally relaxed about the job in hand, as he was in qualifying yesterday.
He was superb. The team have been superb, and other drivers have commented on how stable the car looks when it's going over the bumps. But what was happening is, in the first qualifying session, Jenson held back. When he got to the third sector there, he let rip. And boy, did he put the speed in, and that really upset Luca Di Montezemolo there, the Ferrari chief, looking away, beaten on home turf.
Schumacher had to go out. He had to better that. When you put pressure on him, sometimes, just sometimes, he cracks.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya put him under pressure last year at the Nürburgring. Alonso put him under pressure at the British Grand Prix. And Montoya said, I wonder what Schumacher was thinking when he knew Jenson had set that time. He had to go out and do it. Well, of course, you put him under pressure. This guy makes mistakes. Very enter alta. Look at that big slide there. 2 or 3 tenths of a second that he lost. Of course, Schumacher said afterwards, no, it wasn't that. I was too slow anyway. It wasn't in that slide.
A slide that puts him off pole for the first time this season. We mustn't discount the Williams here. Montoya feels his car is very well set up for the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a great technical job, BMW and Williams here. In the first of the 2 qualifying sessions, they took a little bit of fuel out and broke into the 19s. But he's very well placed in third position. Juan Pablo Montoya said, I've got a very, very strong race car. And this is where Ralf Schumacher won in 2001 and had the big breakthrough for Williams BMW. So watch out for Juan Pablo today.
OK, Tony, thank you very much indeed. Well, why is it all happening for Jenson Button this season? Don't forget F1 Supremo Bernie Eccleston advised David Richards, the BAR boss, not to sign him. And now Jenson is Ferrari's #1 challenger.
Now that F1 cars qualify with race fuel, you never really know if the pole sitter's running light.
Well, we're running a qualifying strategy that's going to do us well in the race tomorrow. That's what we're really interested. We're not interested in headlines today. It's very nice to be on pole position, but everything we're doing is about trying to get the best result.
So the car is genuinely quick. How's that then? First stop, tyres.
they decided that it was the time for them to be aggressive and to be on the very front row. That's what happened. That's fine. I mean, it's going along with their strategy.
BAR have copied Ferrari's mid-wing amongst other aero improvements, and they've a strong Honda engine.
I think Honda and BR now is working much closer, and as a result we could see this kind of performance, which is very encouraging.
Another little team secret is the carbon fibre gearbox under this white engine cover. It's the only one of its kind on the grid.
The carbon gearbox has definitely made the car more competitive. It's certainly an advantage that we've got, and by committing ourselves to doing it and taking the performance advantage and just really focus on saying it will work, I definitely believe it's given us a performance advantage this year.
Technical tweaks only go so far. You also need driving experience and talent.
When I'm driving, it sounds crazy. When I'm doing 200 miles an hour, it doesn't feel quick. I think that's a big plus point in a driver. When everything slows down, you've got more time to think about driving, but not only that, about what the car's doing. So I think that is very important with a driver, and that only comes with experience.
He's become very focused. He realises that the role he plays outside the motor car in terms of his relationship with not just the people he normally interfaces with, the engineers, but everyone throughout the factory is critical.
It's not just driving, you know. That's what I thought it was. You know, driving, bit of time with the engineers, that's it. Go away, do a bit of training, but it's a lot more than that. You know, the driving's just part of it. Spending time with the engineers is so important, and understanding what the car is doing and understanding what the changes do.
Remember, he's gone through extraordinary period in Formula One. How can anyone at 23 years of age cope with this type of pressure and this public sort of attention? I couldn't have at that age, and I take my hat off to him. I'm amazed by him.
I think I react pretty well to pressure. You know, I have had a pretty tough couple of years in Formula One in 2001 and 2002. So, you know, I've had the bad times. Now I'm just so positive in my ability, and I don't really feel the pressure too much, I don't think.
He's learning his trade, rapidly maturing race by race. There is much more to this game than just driving the car fast. But how did he do it? How did Jenson Button break the lap record and conquer the curbs here at Imola, probably the most awkward circuit on the calendar? Well, this is how he did it in his own words as well. We're going to go on board the BAR Honda. In the meantime, though, Jenson Button's chatting to Martin Brundle.
Congratulations from the British fans, Jenson. Take us through the lap after your slow warm-up lap and then catapult into the start-finish straight.
Love to. Here we are across the start and finish line into turn 1. You're in 7th gear. Down to 3rd gear. Braking, the car was very stable. Over the curbs. The car rides the curbs very well. I don't know if you've noticed, Martin.
Yeah, I don't know how you can be so hard on the throttle when you're bouncing across the curbs. It's certainly the best one out there.
That's one thing that's really helped me around here, is when I get on the power off the curbs, there is a lot of traction.
Now, what are you thinking into Tosa? Like, oh, don't lock a brake, don't lock a brake?
It's such a slow, slippery corner. I lost a little bit on the exit to a bit of oversteer.
Now, Piratella's blind over the top of this hill, and I noticed watching your lap and Michael's, he was quicker through there than you. Is your car still as good through there?
I had a bit of understeer, but you're never going to gain that much in a high-speed corner. Yeah. Down through here is the 2nd gear. Exit's very good there off the curb. Got very good traction. I think that gained me quite a bit of time.
And just watch how calm you are and the car is through there. It's just amazing. You've got no work to do on the exit.
No, that's the tightest I've ever taken that corner as well. I've used so much curb, and the car was very stable. Down into here, I braked and I turned it a little bit early, run wide there, as you can see. Lost a little bit of time, but gave me a very good exit for the second part of it.
Well, you were neck and neck with Michael until the Rivazzas, and then you just murdered him through here. Take us through it.
Well, I'm using a lot of curbs through here, and when I get on the power, again, off the curbs, I've got very good traction, which is what a lot of people find here. They get off the curbs and they've got a bit of oversteer, traction's not that good. But with this car, it just seems that I can really get out of the corner as well.
Did you know the lap time? Did you know you did a 19.7?
Yes, and I screamed very loudly when I crossed the line.
Oh, you screamed, did you? Because you didn't punch the air, and I thought, he's so calm.
I didn't know that I was going to be on pole, but I was very happy with the lap. So.
Did you expect to break the 120s?
Before pre-qualifying, I did, because practice the car was running very well. But after pre-qualifying, I was a little bit worried because I lost a lot of grip, as I did in Bahrain.
So see you on the grid.
Good man.
Jensen's promised to chat to Martin on the grid before the start of the San Marino Grand Prix. The race due off in just around about 40 minutes time. He knows this place is very tough on brakes. You know it's tough to overtake here as well, so a good start for Jensen Button. That is absolutely crucial. Here's Tony Jardine to talk you through the grid.
A landmark first pole for Button and Honda. Michael Schumacher loses his pole streak in second, and Montoya poised to attack. Barrichello lost it in the last part of the quali lap. Fifth, Ralf Schumacher. Sixth, Alonso in the Renault, says he'll be quick in race trim. Seventh, Sato, Button's teammate, lost grip. Eighth, Mark Webber pulled out a great lap in the Jaguar. And ninth, Trulli. 10th, D'Amato drove aggressively. 11th, Coulthard. 12th, Massa for Sauber. 13th, Olivier Panis suffered an electronic blip. Christian Klein 14th after crashing. 15th, Pantano out-qualifies teammate Heidfeld for the second time. 17th, Jimmy Bruni hit the curb so hard the wheel came out of his hand. At the rear, Baumgartner spun off. Raikkonen, no time, truncated the lap in favour of an engine change. Fisichella couldn't change a broken gearbox in time.
Check on the standings after the flyaways. Michael Schumacher, Mr. Perfect after 3 races. 3 wins, 30 points. Then teammate Barrichello. Button on the podium in Malaysia and Bahrain. He's third. Montoya just ahead of the Renaults, Alonso and Trulli. Ralf Schumacher really needs to improve. Sato's BAR ahead of Coulthard, and he's McLaren's only scorer. Ferrari have already raced past 50 points in the Constructors. Renault's pair, they've scored in every race. Imola just around the corner from Ferrari headquarters Maranello, and they will really want to deliver for those adoring fans, the Tifosi. Williams are the most successful constructor here. They have won 8 times, and surely the season must improve for McLaren.
Before qualifying, McLaren technicians noticed Kimi Raikkonen's engine was about to fail. So rather than have it blow up, they cancelled his run, just as they did at the last race in Bahrain.
It's not as bad as it looks. I mean, David.
It's the second race in a row.
Yeah, sure, but you know, this is the ups and downs of motor racing. It's tough, but we've been there before, and it's going to take a while to improve, but it'll get better.
Our pace, despite what we see there, has been better this weekend. I think that we're seeing some signs of improvement, so we're just going to keep working, and it will slowly come to us.
There's been a case of handbags at dawn at Williams. Ralf Schumacher has hit back at Patrick Head for describing his race in Bahrain as a complete mess.
We have other problems in the moment. There's other performance issues we have, so I don't really, position was a shame. Obviously, we could have done far better than we did in Bahrain, but we still don't have a winning car. So I concentrate on my bit of work, and he should on his.
And always happy to join in, Juan Pablo Montoya, who qualified behind Button, says Williams are now being left behind in the development race.
We need to find a big step in aero or engine or something to really get in the game. It's heading the right direction, but slowly. Too slow.
I think between us and Jensen, we have plenty of potential for racing very closely with them. There is evidence from the test before Melbourne here, and from what we've seen on some of the practice, that the Ferrari can race a bit quicker than both of us.
Indeed, the Ferrari has so far been 0.6 of a second a lap quicker than the BAR or the Williams. So wet or dry, Michael is sorted, unlike in qualifying.
Oh, well out of shape.
I guess it would have been very close between me and Jensen, but probably not enough. They looked very strong all weekend. They looked strong before we came here, and it's not a real surprise for me. So tomorrow we have to find out in the race when everybody opens their cards what that means.
You don't look too worried to me.
I'm not too worried, no.
When he's got that smile, everybody else worries.
That's the assassin smile, isn't it? He knows what he's going to do today, but they're still the benchmark, they're still the dominant team, and they're working like crazy to stay ahead.
Younger brother Ralf and Montoya, none too happy at Williams, are they?
Well, it is a driver-related problem. Not so much Juan Pablo, but more Ralf. He was very, very erratic last year, as we all knew. And this year, look at the mistakes he's made. Look in Malaysia with Webber. Look with Sato that happened in Bahrain. He's not happy, and the ship are not happy with him. I think they'd like to see the back of him, to be honest.
Painful season for McLaren. Will it change today?
Jim, it's the worst start for McLaren since, 94 in the Peugeot days. Really, really bad. They've done the fewest racing laps of all the teams, and Raikkonen's only done 56 racing laps, but Ron is being realistic. He knows that the temperature in the kitchen's very, very high. He's determined to stay in there, sweat it out, and come out when the recipe is right. He knows what it takes. We all want them to come out the other side.
Absolutely. Tony, thank you very much indeed. If you saw Jenson Button clinching pole yesterday, you'll know that this weekend we are meeting the Minardi team. A little bit later on, we'll feature Jimmy Bruni, one of the fittest drivers on the circuit. But now let's meet one or two other key characters at Minardi.
My name is John Walton. I'm the sporting director of the Willocks Minardi Cosworth team based in Faenza in Italy. Obviously Paul Stoller is the owner of the team and he calls the shots. When it comes down to the operations at the factory and the running of the team at events, then that's my responsibility. Except for the technical matters, those come under the control of our technical director, Gabriele Tedossi.
I am the technical director of the Minardi team. I am responsible of the project of the car and the production of the car, and I manage all technical side. The company is not big, and it's easy to have all control of the draw office, the RD department, and the aerodynamic department.
My name is Riccardo Dami. I'm a race engineer for Gianmaria Bruni, we call Jimmy. I have to work with the aero department, the engine department, and the chassis people to find the best car for Jimmy and different track that we race on.
My name is Alberto Accorsi. I'm sponsoring manager of the Minardi team. First is to go out to find money. Secondary is to prepare and present partnership proposal to potential sponsor. Then to organize all the marketing activities for the new sponsor.
The team may have an international workforce, from Belgian tester Bas Leinders to British engine liaison manager Mark Parrish, but its heart is firmly Italian, and some of the English mechanics have learned to love the Dolce Vita in Faenza.
This must be one of the best parts of living in Italy, isn't it? The food. I mean, there's no chance that you stop for a 10-minute sandwich like you would in England, is there? It's an institution here, isn't it?
Yeah, they do like their lunch, but I prefer to have a smaller lunch like I would do in England.
Yeah.
And go out for dinner or something. We eat too much during the day.
What's Faenza like as a place to live? I mean, it seems very... The piazza is absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? Is there lots goes on there, or is it a fairly quiet town?
There's always something going on in the piazza. In the summer, it's incredible. Every weekend there's a festival for this, a festival for that. They section it off for the kids. There's always something going on. It's good.
There's always people, all ages, from young to 80-year-olds, and they're all riding bikes. They love it. On a Sunday around here, it's incredible. Bikes everywhere.
Is there a big sense of family life around here too?
Massively.
Yeah, very much.
Massively. The family is everything here, for sure.
Yep.
So important, yeah.
Now, two drivers died here during a horrible weekend at Imola 10 years ago, the Austrian Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna. You're watching Senna's close friend and his former teammate Gerhard Berger driving one of the Brazilians' favourite cars here earlier today, the Lotus Renault V6. Ayrton Senna won his first Grand Prix in that, and we'll be celebrating Ayrton Senna's brilliance when you rejoin us. And now we celebrate the brilliance of a racing genius, Ayrton Senna, who died here at Imola at the San Marino Grand Prix a decade ago on May Day 1994. In addition to the established Senna Memorial, they have now renamed the main pit grandstand the Ayrton Senna Stand. And leading our tribute is a man who enjoyed many a battle with the Brazilian out on the circuit, Martin Brundle.
10 years ago, the brilliant Ayrton Senna started on pole position for the 65th and final time in his career here at the San Marino Grand Prix. He was already distraught from the death the day before of Roland Ratzenberger, and he too would lose his life that May weekend. I was in that Grand Prix, and the images have burned very strongly in my mind. A decade later, the legend lives on.
He was a fantastic competitor. He was obviously an exceptional person and driver. And that's the good memories I have personally about him.
He was probably the fastest champion that I ever saw. He seemed to always be stretching the elastic. but my goodness was he quick.
We all know he was phenomenal with the throttle. As you know, he was in the middle of the corners. We used to hear that bam, bam, bam. He used to go. Nowadays, maybe it wouldn't work, but maybe nowadays he wouldn't be racing.
Senna had a brilliant career coming through the ranks. He also had a sixth sense, and he knew where the grip was before he arrived in the corner. This unique early footage of his first Formula One test shows how easily he took to the power of Grand Prix racing, sliding the car confidently around, immediately impressing Frank Williams.
He just went off a second quicker than the car had ever been around there, and then said, I think that's all right, I've got enough in my head, got out of the car and went home.
He was very complex, but not particularly difficult to read or to understand. He was just a dedicated, focused racing driver, and set very high standards by which he drove the car and by which he raced. Above all else, Ayrton needed genuine friendship in a relationship to excel in his own chosen sport, and I think that's what we had.
Senna was undoubtedly the most eloquent and the most charismatic racing driver I have ever met. Senna in a press conference was spellbinding. He was one of the very few people I've ever seen anywhere, any time, who could walk into a crowded room and the conversation would stop.
I mean, I've been around a few years, unfortunately, met an awful lot of drivers and a lot of people, actually, not only just drivers, and he was something quite special.
He didn't want to get emotionally linked to anyone in a way. With a little glass of wine, he was fabulous.
The early 90s saw the emergence of another future multiple world champion in the shape of Michael Schumacher. In my view, Senna had a greater God-given skill, but Michael Schumacher applies it in a better way. Senna emotionally driven, Schumacher mentally driven.
Michael is fantastic using the car itself, but right now I think he's at the peak because he's using his experience. Maybe starting on, Ayrton was using more his talent and he could get more points. Michael didn't have that at the beginning, he crashed too often. But now Michael is really good on race pace, and we could argue that maybe he could have been faster than Ayrton, but we will never know.
Senna was mystical. Senna had this charismatic personality, which, with the greatest respect in the world, Michael Schumacher does not. They both applied themselves to their business, driving Formula One racing cars, with equal intensity.
Now imagine this, Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna in the same car at the same time. Who do you think would win the World Championship?
Again, very, very difficult to judge those two people. I mean, Ayrton never had the support that Michael has. Certainly Michael's been fortunate enough to have the best team and backup and everything else, which Ayrton never had. He had people in the team with him that wanted to beat him. I got a sneaking suspicion if he would have been still with us, that Michael certainly wouldn't have been 6 times world champion, and maybe he would have been twice or 3 times, and maybe Ayrton would have been 4 times.
Sadly, for motor racing fans all over the world, the epic battle between Senna and Schumacher was only just underway. Ayrton Senna had a massive impact on Formula One during his lifetime, and probably an even greater impact after his death. Let's let the great man himself have the final word.
Once you do something like this and you succeed, you have difficulties that you have to fix. Not all of them are technical. Many of them are difficulties in your mind. All of us who are trying to beat the limits and be the number one.
Ayrton Senna, remember, 10 years on. Roland Ratzenberger also died this weekend. That weekend 10 years ago. A lot of people were wearing a special badge in the colours of the Austrians' helmet this weekend. Bernie Eccleston joins me now. Bernie, thank you very much indeed. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Let's talk first of all about the new rules, those suggestions for 2008, big radical changes, and without going into too much detail, back to basics, isn't it, for Formula One?
Well, it's about time we went back to basics. It's back to the future, actually. So these are rules that are being proposed for 2008, and maybe we can bring them forward if we can get a unanimous agreement with all the teams.
Do you think the sport needs something like that? It needs a shake-up. Drivers have to drive more, less electronic, less testing.
Yeah, we need a bit of a shake-up, to be honest with you. We've got a bit lazy, and we need to give a bit more value to TV audience and the public.
Could I talk to you about this place, Imola? Are we likely to come back here again? We wondered last year. We're wondering again this year. Could this be the last Grand Prix here?
Well, let's see. I never say never to anything, so let's wait and see.
What does it depend on, though?
Lots of things, really. I mean, they've certainly got it's like an old house, this again. It's a bit like Silverstone, to be honest with you.
I thought you might say that somehow.
So they've got to shake it all up a bit, and maybe we can get a bit of help, and if they allow tobacco branding to run here or something like that.
You've sort of taken charge of the old house again, Silverstone, haven't you? What are your plans for the place?
No, we're quite the opposite. All we've done is we haven't got a contract anymore to have a Grand Prix, that's all.
And how keen are you for Silverstone to continue having a Grand Prix?
Well, it's good. We don't want to lose the British Grand Prix. That's the last thing we want to do. So it's a case of maybe the BRDC being the promoter. They own the circuit and everything else, and bringing it up to scratch. So I think they'll get the funds now and be able to do that.
I know you have to take a worldwide view, Bernie, but deep down, as a Brit, do you really want to see a British Grand Prix?
Yeah. I raced in the first British Grand Prix.
Did you really?
I raced at that event, yes.
Really? How did you do?
I must have been about 12 at the time, I think. But,
And ITV have done a new deal to stick with you and stick with this sport until 2010. We're all delighted about that. How do you feel?
Good. I mean, you've done a darn good job for us. I mean, that's why we made an agreement. The commercial terms wasn't very good, but we're very, very happy to stay with ITV.
And just hazard a guess, what sort of racing are we going to be seeing before then, before 2010, in the meantime, with all these changes?
Well, I hope we need to have a big improvement. We need to have a bit of a shake-up. Stand back and have a look, see what we're doing wrong and straighten it out.
We're not going to have a sweep today because you always win it, but tell us who's going to win here today because we're all backing Button.
I think very, very difficult to know. I mean, I wouldn't want to make a prediction here. Michael Schumacher, maybe he's got a chance.
Just one final thing. Rumour has it you told David Richards not to sign Jenson Button, and the story is you've apologised.
And I apologised to Jenson.
It's good to see you hold your hand up.
I didn't think he was going to get the job done, and I apologise, and I'm more happy than his father that he has.
Absolutely. OK, Bernie, thanks very much indeed for joining us. We might see a bit more of each other over the next few years. Right, well, I just wonder who is the fittest driver on the circuit. Sato, he's not bad, the Japanese driver. Michael Schumacher, he must get a shout. What about Mark Webber? Very fit indeed as well. Trulli runs marathons. But I give you Jimmy Bruni, the 22-year-old Roman, just starting his F1 career at Minardi.
Gianmaria Bruni might have the look of a nightclub bouncer, but to him, being fit means being fast. Muscle strength, stamina and a low heart rate are key to his performance.
In Valencia, the first day we test this year, I make a test with the rad 8, and my average was like 138, 140. So it's not very high. Not normally when, like my heart, normally in the morning, it's like 42, so I'm very low. And so to get on the top, I have to push very hard.
So to see just how hard he pushes his heart, we put a pulse monitor on Jimmy to measure the stress on his body during an all-out, one-shot qualifying lap. It's morning practice and Bruni's fairly relaxed, but as qualifying comes up, so does his stress level. The adrenaline pumps, even talking to the engineers makes the anxiety increase. Now there's a last-minute problem on the car, but Jimmy needs to shut that out. He relaxes away from the garage. Out of sight is out of mind. But then, amidst the chaos around him, it's time to qualify.
So here comes Bruni then. He's warmed up the tyres on his outlap and he's now flying through across the start-finish line up to about 175 miles an hour down towards Tamburello.
He's got to turn in and hook the curb on the way in. Not too much curb in the middle. The car is oversteering. That'll certainly be catching his attention as he heads down to the very fast entry of the Villeneuve chicane. Let's see if the back end will stick a bit better this time. It does indeed, as he brakes heavily into the foot of the hill, and the toes are hairpin. Point it skywards and floor the throttle as you head towards Piratella.
You can see his hands on the wheel there, right finger just flicking the gears up, left finger just flicking them down again. Look at the work rate going into the steering wheel. Big physical effort here, a lot of G-forces, both braking and sideways here at Imola on the driver.
Yes, bumpy too in the bottom of the Acqua Minerale there, climbing the hill for the second time then as he goes to the Variante Alta. All the drivers are nervous of this chicane. They've just got to take enough curb to be fast and a little bit too much, and they're in the wall. They can coast and relax a bit as he heads downhill towards the braking zone for Ribazza 1. Again, the curb pulling the car around like a railway line.
You can see it's really not sticking to the ground, this Minardi, not as much downforce as the front-running cars. That means more work for the drivers, a much harder afternoon for them. Just steadying the car up over the curbs, got the back out a little bit as well. Should be quicker than teammate Baumgartner, though. Indeed he is, quite a lot quicker. 1:26.8 for Gianmaria Bruni.
It wasn't very good, you know, and my first front lap was good, the second one was even better, but, you know, I make no mistake. I went on the curbs, and unfortunately I just touched the pit limiter with my hands because I lost the hands on the curbs. Normally my average when I'm training is 155 the average, so like it's now. You know, at the end of the day, I have a lots of friends here and they come in to watch race. I will try to do the best I can.
Be sure that Jimmy's Heart will be racing his Minardi starting 17th. It's a home Grand Prix for them, don't forget. The European season starting right here then. It's a frantic burst of activity. It includes the Monaco Grand Prix in a month's time. I'm sure all those Ferrari fans will be on that hill overlooking the harbour. Do you fancy going? You better watch Louise very carefully.
This really is a very special prize. It's a VIP trip to the Monaco Grand Prix. You and a friend will be flown to Monte Carlo, you'll stay in a luxury hotel, and you'll watch the race from an exclusive location. And you get to mix with the rich and famous at the star-studded Steinmetz Diamond Party. All that and £500 spending money too. This is your chance to get in with the in crowd. All you have to do is answer this simple question. Which driver won last year's Monaco Grand Prix? Was it A, Michael Schumacher, B, Juan Pablo Montoya, or C, David Coulthard? Here's the phone number to call. It's 09016 56 20 56. Calls cost 60p a minute and should last no longer than a minute. Or you can text us your answer. Simply send F1A, F1B or F1C to 84188. Text messages at 50p plus your standard message charge. The competition closes at midnight on Saturday the 8th of May. Good luck, and I'll see you in Monaco.
Well, worth having a go at that competition. We really are so excited about Jenson Button sitting on pole for the San Marino Grand Prix. Martin Brundle is down there on the grid and enough to send a tingle down your spine. And let's hear from the fellow alongside you, Martin.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everybody. Jenson, we've got a few mutual friends, a few million, actually. Just want to know what's going through your mind right now, sitting here on pole position.
Very excited. But, you know, I've done a lot of the hard work yesterday, so, you know, I'm in the best position here. I've just got the lights in front of me, no other cars to worry about initially, and we'll see.
Now, I don't know if you had a chance to see the Porsche race yesterday in the F3000, but the left-hand side of the grid got away really well.
Great.
So I think, I mean, obviously it's the racing line as well, but what about that massive storm overnight? And it was windy, lightning, and a huge amount of rain. Surely the track is so green. What did it feel like on the one lap you've been able to do to the grid?
Well, the problem is, you know, we're just saving fuel on the way to the grid. We're not really feeling the car. It's very difficult. But, you know, we've driven in all different sorts of conditions here over the last 2 days, so I'm sure we'll be fine. We've been quick all the way through. So.
So do you think he's got an advantage? Michael might have an advantage with the Bridgestones on the green track. They tend to be better in a grubby track.
Maybe for the first few laps, but when there's 20 cars running on the circuit, it really does get a groove very quickly. So I'm not too worried about that.
I'm getting a wind-up from your boss here saying let him go, but if you get away well, what are you going to do? Go over and bully him on the other side of the track?
Oh, I'm not going to let that out, am I?
Good luck, chap.
Cheers.
Okay, let's see who else we can find. I really want to know technically what they're doing on this racetrack to adjust the cars. No warm-up now, of course. No opportunity to know what's going on. As Jensen said, they don't want to use any fuel, so they could go through the pits if they wanted and do 2 or 3 laps to find out where the track's at. They just can't afford to use the fuel. They could be in as early as lap 8 or 9 in this Grand Prix, and certainly 10 or 11. There's so many people on this grid. It's difficult to see the wood for the trees. I want to try and find somebody who can give me a bit of a feed of what's going on. Sorry, chap, I'm coming through, whether you like it or not. Here we go. Here's 2 gentlemen who could probably tell us. Patrick, how is the track? What do you know about this track? It's going to be so green, isn't it?
Well, probably. I mean, for anybody that was here last night, seeing the amount of rain that we had coming down, it will be. And certainly on the first set of tyres, we can expect them to go away quite quickly, I would think.
When you say go away, they're going to grain up, are they, because the cars are sliding around more?
Yes, I mean, there's less grip on the track because all the rubber that had been laid down has been lifted up, so the cars will slide more.
And no warm-up, no opportunity to find out where on earth you're at. A bit of a magical mystery tour. How much can you change these cars at the first stop?
Basically, we're limited to tyre pressures and front wing adjustment, really.
Now, I've got a feeling that you might have a bit more fuel than some of the others, and you're actually in pretty good shape for this Grand Prix, especially with Montoya here in 3rd place on the grippy side of the grid, to answer my own question.
Well, I suspect those red cars on the other side are in pretty good shape, but we're certainly, you know, we're in with a shout, and you know, we've seen that both Juan and Ralph, given decent starts, can race well.
Okay, Patrick, thanks for that, and good luck. Right, let's have a poke around and see who else we can annoy. Are there any drivers about? Can't see Montoya. Montoya's about to... You gone? Quick one. One question. Any good? What's the track feel like?
It's quite cold, and you know, after the rain it's quite green, so I think the first stint is going to be pretty crucial for the race, to be honest.
Okay, good luck. That's my one question over. Who else can we find? I think it's time for a Marty's random person. Hello there. Excuse me, do you speak English?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, how are you on the grid? We've got millions of people watching. Would love to be on this grid today. Who are you with?
I'm with Sauber.
Sauber, you a sponsor?
Yes, I'm a sponsor from Credit Suisse.
Excellent. How are you feeling about the race today? Who do you want to win this race other than a Sauber?
Well, I hope it's an open race and that the best will win. And we will hope that Sauber will do the best.
All right, good luck. Enjoy your day. And our Louise is with Jensen's Louise in the paddock.
I am indeed, Martin. Louise, we've just been hearing from Jensen out on the grid. He said he's excited, but he sounds quite relaxed. How are you feeling?
I'm so nervous. I think I'm probably more nervous than he is. He's very chilled and just taking it in his stride, which is great to see.
The world and its mother is out there with your man. Why are you here in the garage?
I don't like being on the grid. I just like to leave him to it and stay out of the way and, you know, let him concentrate on what he's got ahead of him, because it's a pretty serious job being up the front. So,
now, we opened up the show this afternoon with your song "Catch Me If You Can." Do you think those guys out there can catch him this afternoon?
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully he'll be gone. But yeah, quite appropriate, I think, the song for today. So that's cool.
Enjoy the race. We hope you get the result that you're looking for.
Thank you.
She is definitely more nervous than Jensen Button. Catch her man if you can. All sorts of worries about how the circuit is going to handle after that 5-hour downpour last night. Let's get a final word from Tony Jardine. Pick a winner, Teach.
I think Schumacher's going to be very strong. Montoya as well. It's really if Jensen can get everything right off the line, and as I said, his coolness and composure. He's got to make the best manual start he's ever made in his career.
Well, so far in F1 2004, Michael Schumacher, he has been absolutely superb. Always on pole, always on top of the podium. But at Ferrari headquarters, Jensen Button has taken him on and leads on points at the moment. let me tell you. The 6 times world champion has been on pole 58 times. It's unknown territory for the British driver. A good start's everything at Imola. Jensen's had his first podiums, his first pole. Now he yearns for that first victory. Button down the hatches for the San Marino Grand Prix.